Okay, IM2 students, and hopefully IM3 students are looking at this right now. But anyways, today we started learning to solve a right triangle. Now what does that mean is, if we look at this problem here, notice right now it's only asking for x. But let's say they said solve the right triangle, as in the title right here, right? Solve the right triangle. Well, that means I find every missing side and every missing angle. So not only are we going to find x, but we're going to find the hypotenuse. I'm just going to go ahead and call the hypotenuse y. And then, of course, we're going to find this missing angle up here as well. Let's start with x. Well, let me just clean this up a little bit first. So we're going to solve for x, then we're going to solve for that hypotenuse, okay? So here we go. How do we do that? Well, if we have this angle at 56 degrees, that's step one. We need to know what angle it is, right? After that, what's next? Well, we label our sides. Does everyone agree this 2 up here is opposite of the 56? And notice the x that's missing here is what we call adjacent to x, right? So we have O and A involved here. What function, according to SOHCAHTOA, some old hippie caught another hippie tripping over apples, right? Which one uses O and A? Notice OH is sine, AH is cosine. Aha! Tangent is O and A, right? So I now know that the tangent of 56 degrees has to be the opposite over the adjacent. Now, as we talked about in class, notice how this expression is upside down. Now, for some of us, it's no big deal, but for some of us, it is. So here's a little nifty trick. I'm going to do the reciprocal of both sides. So this 2 over x, if I flip it over, is x over 2, correct? What about tangent 56? When I flip that over, that's 1 over the tangent of 56 degrees. So again, does everyone agree if I flip over or do the reciprocal of tangent 56, that'd be 1 over the tangent 56. Now, this should be much easier to recognize. How do I solve for this x right here when I'm dividing by 2? Well, how about we multiply both sides by 2? That way the 2 cancels out. And notice we'll have x equal to this right here. Okay? Now let's go ahead and use our calculator and see if this makes sense. Again, you can always pause and watch this video again, right? But if we look at our calculator, guys, notice I did 1 divided by the tangent of 56. That's this right here. And now all I'm going to do is times it by 2. So once I take my answer, the 0.674, times it by 2 right there, I know that missing side x has to be 1.349. Now I'm just going to round it off to 1.3, even though 1.35 is probably better. Okay, so now that we know that the x is 1.3, notice I now know 2 sides of my triangle. So what am I going to do next, guys, is I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem, okay? I'm basically going to go a squared plus b squared, and that's going to equal what I originally called my y squared, right? We all know Pythagorean theorem. Okay, let's go back to my calculator. Does everyone agree 1.3 squared plus 2 squared is 5.69? When I take the square root, I get 2.385. Again, I'm just going to round it off to 2.4. Okay, 2.4. So I just figured out that the missing side of the hypotenuse is 2.4. So basically, I found every side. Now, what about the missing angle? Right? Angle B. Angle B right there, right? Well, we should know that any triangle, guys, any triangle equals 180 degrees. In other words, any triangle has 3 angles in it. And when we add them together, we get 180 degrees. So, the math is simple. I know I have a right angle, which is 90. I add that with a 56, which we used in our calculations. We get 146 degrees. I know if I take 180 minus that 146, I get 34 degrees. And that is exactly what angle B is right there. So we found every angle, and we found every side, and that, ladies and gentlemen, pause the video if you need to, but that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call solving a right triangle. We found every side, and we found every angle.